Everybody, and welcome back to Weather for Weather Geeks. It's the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. Hope you had a good weekend. It was a cold weekend. Some of the coldest weather we've had this season occurred over the weekend. Today was a little bit better, though. Let's look at the numbers going back over the last couple of weeks. The high over the weekend, 25, both Saturday and Sunday. And we had low temperatures in the single digits in many places, Saturday night and into early Sunday morning. Today was better. We got above freezing, and we'll stay near that freezing mark tonight, meaning a complicated forecast, which, of course, we will get to. But overall, of course, January and the entire winter season has been warmer than the average. 25 is where we started this morning. 34 is where we ended up. With a little bit of snow over the weekend, especially yesterday in Trumbull and Mercer counties. We had a little sneak attack warm front snow that dropped up to a couple of inches in some spots. We had a little over an inch at the airport, bringing our monthly total to 6.2. Look at those records today. 71 in 1950. And in 1897, we had a 15 below zero. That's an old record. All right, radar this evening at 6:55. We're starting to see some light snow and flurries breaking out. All of this is pretty inconsequential, but we will see some snowflakes, and eventually probably you'll hear some sleet pellets pinging before the evening is through. And then as the air a few thousand feet above our heads continues to warm, we're going to start to see more of these pink colors, I suspect, pushing into our region, meaning kind of a wintry mix and primarily rain and freezing rain as we head through the overnight hours. This is all part of a system that is impacting a lot of the eastern U.S., and actually tornado watches are out for parts of Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. We had some freezing rain problems earlier in Cincinnati and Columbus. That batch of frozen precipitation is now producing some problems around D.C., just after rush hour in the nation's capital. So a complicated system, that is for sure. All right, some ODOT road sensors at this hour. Mostly still above freezing on the major roads. That's going to continue to be the case for a good chunk of the evening and the overnight, but it's not the major roads I would be concerned about tonight. It's those less traveled roads, the roads that are less likely to be treated, that could be a little bit problematic. Air temperatures, again, we snuck above freezing today. We'll drop just a little below freezing in most spots tonight. Just before 7 p.m., we're right at about 32 on average, 33. I think 30, 31 will be about where we bottom out tonight, and temperatures may actually start to rise just a little bit later on tonight. So the radar will fill in over the next few hours. As we head through the overnight, this will transition to mostly liquid precipitation falling into air that's, again, right around the freezing mark. And this will be the case into our Tuesday morning. If you are an early riser Tuesday morning and heading off to work and school, I think it'll be right around 32, maybe 33, and misting and drizzling and raining lightly. Might have a little glaze to scrape off on your windshield. All right, just a reminder in this complicated scenario of what these different precipitation types are. Freezing rain is rain, just rain, but it's falling into air right before it hits the ground that's below freezing or at freezing. But the whole trip down, that raindrop encounters air that's above freezing, so it stays liquid. It's only the lowest level of the atmosphere that's colder than freezing. Sleet has a deeper cold layer, but aloft it's still above 32 for a slice, and so snowflakes melt into raindrops, but then those raindrops refreeze in that deeper cold air on the way down, but they don't refreeze back into snowflakes. Raindrops then refreeze back into sleet pellets. Sleet, you can hear it, it kind of pings, it makes a little noise when it hits your house and your car and that sort of thing. Generally, sleet is preferable over freezing rain when it comes to impacts on the roads. And of course, when the air column is below freezing from here on up, more often than not, you get snow, although there are even some exceptions to that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more about when it comes to tomorrow night's forecast in just a moment. All right, how much ice are we talking about tonight? Not a lot. And we've been talking about this for the last couple of days. This is not an ice storm. This is not a crippling situation. It's more of a nuisance than anything. When we talk about the odds of 1/10 of an inch of ice accretion or more, how much accretes or accumulates, if you will, on power lines and, most importantly, the pavement and on your car windshield and that sort of thing. All these green colors are below 40% odds. Once you're over towards I-79, over towards Grove City, and into the Slippery Rock area, for example, your odds are a little bit better, a little bit higher, of more than 1/10 of an inch. But even those aren't super high. So when it comes to typical ice impacts, when you get up to 1/10 of an inch, it's pretty manageable. Some surfaces can be slick. Driveways, if you don't throw any salt down, sidewalks, that sort of thing. Your deck. Once you get above a tenth, and especially once you're closer to a quarter of an inch, that's when you really typically see more in the way of issues on all surfaces, and especially bridges and overpasses. And a quarter of an inch or more, that's when you start to get into ice storm territory, where tree limbs can sag and break, there can be power problems, and travel can be especially difficult. So if you think of this on a 0 to 5 scale, the ice severity index, this is like a 1. It's not great. We don't want to be dealing with freezing drizzle ever, but it certainly could be a lot worse. All right, tricky forecast again as we go into Tuesday and Tuesday night. Our freezing drizzle will transition into just plain old rain tomorrow morning as temperatures sneak back above freezing. In fact, we'll get up to about 40, 41 on average tomorrow afternoon. But I think while there may be a lull for a time in the afternoon, I think some precipitation will start falling out of the clouds again by the evening. And even though the model depiction here is of snow, and the air column will be below freezing from the ground all the way up, there's a complication. There's going to be a punch of dry air up at about 5,000 feet that will make it difficult for snowflakes to form. And so it may be mist or drizzle, even though we're going to be below freezing from the ground on up, and therefore the risk is there for some freezing drizzle or, if you will, snizzle. Maybe there's a couple of snowflakes trying to mix in. Something to watch out for tomorrow evening into the overnight. This storm is going to be a mist to the south for us. This could bring some wet snow to parts of Virginia, North Carolina, but probably not a lot. And for us, it's going to be a blustery and colder end of the week, Thursday and into Friday. You may have seen this kind of a national weather story, just titanic amounts of snow coming to parts of the west in the mountains. The Cascade Mountains, and especially down into the Sierra Nevada Mountains in California, around Reno, Nevada, Lake Tahoe, places like that. Gorgeous places, but they can get some snow, and they're going to get feet of snow. I mean, feet and feet and feet of snow, way off the end, before all is said and done. Way off the end of my scale. This just goes through the next 72 hours. Over the next week, I mean, there's going to be some places that probably get 100 inches of snow. Now, that's way up in the mountains, but still, pretty impressive stuff. All right, quick look at the longer range, 8 to 14-day outlook. I think it's going to be pretty mild next week, second half of the week especially. Late next week, right around maybe the 3rd or 4th of February, I'm not going to be surprised if we have some 50-degree readings across the area. That warm-up, there's some model differences right now as far as how long that warm-up sticks around. Some of the modeling would suggest it has some staying power. Some of the modeling is trying to introduce a colder pattern again by next weekend, so right around Super Bowl weekend. There's low confidence, I think, as we go beyond late next week. So that's why on this 8 to 14-day outlook, even though we've been talking about the warmth in early February, you don't see bright oranges and reds on this map, because there are those risks that while the 8 to 14-day outlook starts out quite mild late next week, as you get deeper into this outlook and towards day 12, 13, 14, we may have some cooler air trying to come east. Although, again, maybe not. We've seen longer range cooldowns be a mirage quite often this winter, where a cooldown that looks like it's coming in the 10 to 14-day outlook, as you get a little bit closer, no surprise, it sort of disappears. All right, so we shall see, and thank you for watching Weather for Weather Geeks on this Monday evening. I'll see you back here on Tuesday.